Welcome to Hamska Academy. The making of Germany and Italy. Can army be the architect of the nation? Can army be the architect of a nation? After 1848, nationalism in Europe moved from its associations with democracy and revolution. So, nationalism in Europe moved away from its links with democracy and revolution. So, in order to gain nationalism and to have a democratic setup, generally they get into revolution mode. But here it has moved away from there. This came to be observed in the process by which Germany and Italy came to be unified as nation states. So this point can be observed in the unification process of Germany and Italy. So how did the unification process of Germany and Italy happen? First, let us look at German unification and see who has played an active role. How did they unite the nation? And then we will discuss about Italy. So let us see here, the nationalist feelings were widespread among the middle class Germans. So the nationalist sentiments or the feelings were widespread among the middle class Germans. So this liberal initiative to nation building was, however, repressed, which means suppressed by the combined forces of the monarchy. Combined forces of monarchy and the military. Now supported by large landlord owners of Prussia. So the king, military, landlord owners have suppressed the middle class people's nationalism, widespread emotion, the feeling. Then Prussia took on the leadership of the movement. Then how did Germany become united? It is the Prussia who took the leadership. So it has taken nearly 7 years, and in this process 3 wars were fought with Austria, Denmark and France, and finally Prussia completed the process of unification. Now you need to know here, there was no revolution which happened. There was no movement which came up that for the unification. Whatever movements have come up, that are been suppressed. But Otto von Bismarck, the then Prime Minister of Prussia, took the ownership and he increased the army. He increased the army from 20,000 to 60,000. He used his tactics and he started to operate at a very high level, and he, being the politically very powerful person, has waged wars and conquered the German territories from Denmark, from Austria and from France. And finally, he is able to complete the process by 18th Jan 1871. So, the leader who took the active role in the unification of Germany is Otto von Bismarck. His policy is blood and iron policy. You might feel he's talking about violent methods. No. Here he is mentioning here blood means the young blood. And these young army can be very strong. So they are like iron hand. So that is what his intention was. So blood and iron was his policy, and he believed in military campaigns, and finally he did it by 18th Jan 1871. The process of unification of Germany was completed with 3 wars and 7 years of period. The wars were with Denmark, Austria and France. The nation building process in Germany demonstrated the dominance of Prussian state power. So the new state placed a strong emphasis on modernizing the currency. They want the currency to be modernized, good banking system, legal system and judicial system should be in place in Germany. That's where the changes which came up after the unification of Germany. Kaiser William I is declared as the first Emperor of United Germany on 18th of Jan 1871. German unification. Who was the one who played very active role? Otto I Bismarck, with the help of Prussian army and bureaucracy, took the leadership of the movement for the national unification. So how did he make it? He waged 3 wars over 7 years in the Prussian victory and completed the process of unification. So Kaiser William I of Prussia headed the new United German Empire. What is his policy? Bismarck's policy is blood and iron. Who is the leader? Otto I Bismarck, the Prime Minister, and in some books it is mentioned as Chief Minister. Basically, he is a minister who is to assist the king. So, in some books it is Chief Minister, in some books it is Prime Minister. Any of the thing is fine. So, 7 years, 3 wars, his policy. So, these 3-4 points if you mention, you will get full marks in the unification process of Germany question. Italian unification or Italy unification. Like Germany, Italy too had a long drawn history of political fragmentation. Means it is divided politically, which means there are different rulers for different parts of Germany. So Italians were scattered over several dynastic states. As I told you, they were ruled by different dynastic rulers. Different kings used to rule different parts of Italy. So it is a multinational Habsburg Empire. So Italy has been divided into 7 states. Italy being a small country, but still it is divided into 7 parts or 7 states. Italian language has not acquired one common form and still had many regional and local variations in the language also. So they have language variations, they have dialect variations. Giuseppe Mazzini, as we studied the revolutionary, has sought to put together a coherent program for a unitary Italian republic or unified Italian republic. He was the first one who had this vision for the unification of Italy. So he started a Young Italy movement for the dissemination of his goals. He wanted to make it reach to the youth, large number of young people. He believed that young people can bring greater changes. So he started the Young Italy movement. He failed in bringing up a revolutionary which was uprising both in 1831 and 1848, meant that the mantle now fell on to Sardinia Piedmont under its ruler King Victor Emmanuel II. The revolutions failed in 1831 and in 1848. Now the responsibility of the unification fell into the hands of Sardinia Piedmont ruler, that is King Victor Emmanuel II, to unify the Italian states through war. So I think it's not mentioned here. Count de Cavour was the minister under Victor Emmanuel II who did most of the negotiation part for Italian unification. He is very good in negotiation with other countries. Italy offered them the possibility of economic development and political dominance. So it was neither a revolutionary nor a democrat. Sir, can we call Italy as a revolutionary country? No. Is it a democratic country? No. It is just a fragmented country. Italian population, among whom rates of illiteracy were very high, and remained blissfully unaware of liberal nationalist ideology. Blissfully unaware means even the movements are happening across the European nations, they are not at all aware that there is such kind of movement which is happening. There is such kind of movement for which people are fighting. They are not aware, and they used to live their life happily. Those people remained blissfully unaware. So this process of unification of Italy was struck there after the revolts. Now who should take the initiative here? Italian unification notes, points. Italy was divided into 7 states, out of which only the Sardinia and the Piedmont were the states or the regions which are ruled by Italian prince. It is only the Sardinia Piedmont kingdom which was ruled by the Italian prince. Initially, a unification program was initiated by Giuseppe Mazzini, but it failed. Chief Minister Cavour led the movement with the help of Giuseppe Garibaldi. So we can say the main members who were there in the process of unification of Italy are Giuseppe Mazzini, who raised and started the momentum, Chief Minister Cavour, and Chief Minister Cavour has done 70% of the work, unification process, and the rest of the 30% southern states were brought under control through revolution by Giuseppe Garibaldi. He is also known as Red Shirts movement leader. So he brought southern Italy into the control, and finally in 1871 Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed as the United Italy King. So that's how the process of Italian unification was complete. So main leaders are the freedom fighters, we can say, for the Italian unification, like Giuseppe Mazzini, Garibaldi and Count de Cavour. They have led a lot of sacrifices of their lives. They went to exile. Even Mazzini went for exile. He was sent to exile, and even Garibaldi was sent to exile for 14 years. There he had worked as he did many odd jobs to survive. He did smallest of the small jobs like candle making, working in bakery shops in order to survive. And finally he came back and he participated in the movement of unification of Italy, gave the southern states control to the king Victor Emmanuel II, and completed the final unification process by 18th Jan 1871. So as I told you, Count de Cavour was very good in negotiations. So negotiations he made with Bismarck. Bismarck, he is a intelligent by nature. So he used to do wars to occupy the places in the process of unification of Germany. So while he was doing wars with the Roman emperor to gain some lands which are under his control, Cavour entered into the picture and tried to convince him that if you are victorious against the Pope or the Papal States control, why don't you give that states to us and help us in the process of unification of Italy? Because he is working for the unification process of Germany, so he doesn't need any of the Italian states. So like that, tactically, cleverly, and explaining the situation, Cavour managed and convinced Bismarck to give the Papal States control to them. The same thing he did. He never went out of his words. So he did it as per the promise, and like that the unification of Italy was completed parallelly with unification of Germany.